Hello, hello. I am ecstatic because it is Tuesday. You know what Tuesday means? Tuesday means it is Growth Groove with Dr. Ericka Knight. So I always love being here to spend this quality time for you and with you. So thank you for making me feel better and making my day, because when I get a chance to talk to you all out there, it helps me feel good. It helps me feel like I did a little something, something. So thank you so much. So tonight we have a special topic. It's worry versus anxiety disorders. You might be like, Dr. Ericka, why you doing that? Well, we're going to talk about why we're doing that. So let's go ahead and get this started. We're going to talk about this kind of like, don't want to call them ground rules, but just some housekeeping things at first. If you know somebody that needs this, please tag them. If you know someone that needs this, you can share. The other thing is, if you aren't watching this live, don't even worry about it. I'm happy you came. Just put hashtag replay in the comments. If you have questions or comments, just keep them coming as we go. I'm going to do my best not to keep you in here forever, even though I can sometimes be a little bit long-winded. So one of the reasons I'm talking about this tonight is there's been a lot going on. I know originally people were like, oh, 2020 is rough, but 2021, and then 2021 got here and we had insurrections and all kinds of stuff, and COVID's not over and we're still pandemicking, and we're dealing with a lot. And one of the things I've noticed is just in regular conversation, even when I'm not at work doing my psychiatrist thing, is people are talking about feeling anxious and being worried and being on edge. I honestly have never, the whole time I've been practicing medicine, heard people talk about anxiety as frequently as I hear it now. So I wanted to do a little something to give you a bit of knowledge, because all anxiety isn't necessarily the level of an anxiety disorder. So I want you to have a few more tools to know when maybe you, your loved ones, or someone you're around may need a little assistance versus just kind of dealing with what is going on. So again, I am your host. I am Dr. Ericka, double board certified psychiatrist and integrative lifestyle coach. I am extremely passionate about helping people be better so they can do better and ultimately live better, because everyone deserves to have that life that they deserve, that life that you were created for. I do that through my telepsychiatry practice, my books, including Fix Your Fairy Tale, A Woman's Guide to a Great Life, Love, and Legacy, and my speaking. So let's go ahead and get to this now that you know who I am. Let's do a little quality time. So the first thing is, what is anxiety? So people will talk about it. They'll say they feel worried, they feel nervous, or they feel anxious, or they'll say, I have anxiety. And the first thing I want to sit with is the fact that these are emotions and they are potentially symptoms. So just because someone may feel anxious or worried or nervous doesn't mean that someone actually has an anxiety disorder. So let me say that again. Just because someone feels anxiety or is anxious doesn't mean they have a diagnosable anxiety disorder. So as you come in, just give me a shout out. Let me know how things are going. A lot of times, just practically, when we talk about worry, people usually will use worry in a little bit more casual term, with less severity. But what we're going to be talking tonight is anxiety, worry, nervousness is a symptom. And there are times where it all comes together and it ends up being an anxiety disorder. And there are times, like I know a lot of people out there have experienced some anxiety or some nervousness, but it wasn't necessarily at the level that they meet criteria for an anxiety disorder. So you might wonder, I got something in my eye. I don't know why. Apparently me and this mascara are not getting along tonight. So thanks for hanging in there with me. So there are numerous kinds of anxiety disorders. We're going to talk about some of the major ones. This is not going to be exhaustive. The other thing is, this is not intended to be a lecture to make you an armchair psychiatrist, an armchair therapist. This is just to give you some education and some information so that you might know if there's something you may need to think about or explore further. So one of the most common ones is one that the title literally says it all: generalized anxiety disorder. This is when someone just feels anxious in general. So they often have what we call free-floating anxiety, which means they feel nervous and don't necessarily know why, and can have physical symptoms of feeling anxious, like feeling their heart beat fast, feeling like it's hard to breathe, sweating, and nervousness, and all kinds of symptoms. But this one is just kind of general. It's not a whole lot of specifics. They're not necessarily having panic attacks all the time, but it's one that's really common. The next one is panic disorder. So you'll see a trend. The trend is that in the world of actually being a mental health practitioner, is that all anxiety is not created equal. All anxiety is not the same. So panic disorder is something you see a lot on TV and movies, where someone just becomes really panicked and they start having physical symptoms. They feel like something horrible is going to happen. They feel this impending sense of doom. They may feel like they're going to die. And usually they'll feel like they can't breathe, or their heart's beating fast, they're sweating, they hurt, just all kinds of things. But panic disorder, a lot of these is kind of cool because there's a prompt in the name. Panic. Now, something that's kind of interesting, this is a fun fact, is before the latest version of DSM, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, panic disorder and agoraphobia were linked. They had panic disorder with or without agoraphobia. And then they decided to separate it out. So they're two separate things now. So you know something extra special. You know the fun facts. So agoraphobia, so you have phobia, fear. And with agoraphobia, someone for some reason is afraid of being out. So these are the people that you see on the movies and the television shows. That, like, I can't remember the little dude on Criminal Minds, the little nerdy guy. I say that with love because I'm a nerd too. His little girlfriend had it because she didn't want to leave the house. But you often will see it in movies and things like that because it's someone that is typically, when they portray them, they're intelligent people, but they just can't get so nervous and anxious. They can't leave the house. And, you know, this was even more profound before we're dealing with the days we do now. Now you can get everything delivered. You can think about this 5 or 10 years ago when you couldn't get anything hardly delivered but pizza and maybe Chinese food. So these are folks that just, for whatever reason, don't want to leave the house. They're just so anxious. Now, one of the reasons it used to be linked with panic disorder is because one of the reasons, a big reason that a lot of people with agoraphobia didn't want to leave the house is they were in fear that they would have a panic attack. Or because they were going to have a panic attack and they felt like they were going to die, that they're afraid they're going to die if they leave the house. So they got it. Agoraphobia. Now, the next one, something extremely, it's common, we talk about all the time, is P to the T to the S to the D. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. So that's the one that most people have some level of familiarity because there's been so much conversation around trauma. When this was originally described, it was described around soldiers that had been in war, but we know now that there are many different types of traumas that people experience, and this is with the flashbacks and the nightmares and the avoidance, all kinds of stuff. I'm not going to give you all the clinical criteria tonight because that is not what we're doing. We're just giving you a little bit of overview, little overview situation, all right? So the other thing to remember is someone can have symptoms before they make it to the point of having PTSD and have what we call ASD. But people don't call it ASD because also now they'll say ASD is autism spectrum disorder. So it stands for acute stress disorder. But PTSD is something classic that we talk about a lot. And then people also talk about social anxiety, which people also call social phobia. And that's when people get really nervous when they're around a lot of people. So these people have difficulty going with crowds. So you'll notice that they'll go to Walmart or to the grocery store in the middle of the night. And they typically will also have difficulties sometimes in school because it's just nerve-wracking to have to present or answer questions in front of the class. But social anxiety is pretty intuitive because it is social. So anxious being social. Then you have specific phobias. You know, people will talk about they're super afraid of spiders, afraid of heights, afraid of flying, claustrophobia, afraid of small spaces. But these are all anxiety disorders. Another one is separation anxiety disorder, where someone just doesn't, it's usually with kids. You see this a lot with kids. Where they're not ready to be separated from their parents and they're tantruming or they're melting down and they don't want to go to school. They don't want to go to preschool. But separation anxiety is typically little people. There are a couple that we didn't go through. If you want to be super smart with the new criteria, they now have selective mutism as a anxiety. And then also you can have an adjustment disorder with anxiety, but we're not going to get through all those details. I just wanted to let you know that all anxiety is not created equal, and all anxiety doesn't mean you have a full-fledged anxiety disorder. So if you're watching this, feel free to comment. Also, if you know someone that needs this, tag them. You can also share. And you can also put hashtag replay if you're watching this later. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to do a quick recap, get you on out of here. So tonight we are, okay. Tonight we are talking about worry versus anxiety disorders, and the fact that feeling worried, nervous, or anxious can be a symptom, but it doesn't necessarily mean someone has a disorder. There are multiple clinical criteria for each disorder, but also we look at impairment, the level of difficulty someone is having because they are feeling anxious. All right? So we have numerous anxiety disorders. Oh my gosh, and we are having issues on the StreamYard. And you have generalized anxiety disorder, which is kind of feeling anxious in general, panic disorder, agoraphobia, PTSD, social anxiety, specific phobias, and separation anxiety disorder, along with selective mutism, acute stress disorder. There are all kinds of stuff. But the main message I really wanted to give to you is that just because you feel anxious doesn't mean that you have a disorder. But if you feel like you just can't manage, or you're feeling so anxious you can't function, you can't think, you can't concentrate, you're not getting things done, you're constantly worried something will happen to you, or you don't feel comfortable doing what you need to do, then you may need a little help. So thank you so much for coming. I have some news. So I have a big announcement. I may have to repeat it because we're having some connectivity issues, but thank you so much for hanging in there with me. Is that the first thing is, thanks for coming. I am your host, Dr. Ericka, double board certified psychiatrist and integrative lifestyle coach. I am on a mission to help people be better so they could do better and ultimately live better so they can claim that life that they deserve. I do that through my telepsychiatry, my books, including Fix Your Fairy Tale, A Woman's Guide to a Great Life, Love, and Legacy, along with my speaking. And I just want to quickly say, I have a special announcement. So here's the special announcement. I know it's the beginning of the year, it's January. I didn't do this at the very top of the year because there was just so much chaos coming on. We just need to get settled down just a little bit. But guess what is going on now? I'm going to be doing my vision board challenge. So we're going to do the Define Your Fairy Tale vision board challenge. I'm super excited. It's a 5-day challenge. One of the reasons I do 5 days instead of doing this all in one sitting is I know a lot of you and even myself are busy professionals. And I wanted to lay it out over 5 days so there's enough space and time that if you get busy and you have to make up a little time, that there isn't so much to do in one day that you can't get it done. I want little pieces of tasks per day so that you can be successful. I want you to finish. I don't want you just to start. I want you to finish. And with this, we're going to teach you not only how to make that vision board, but we're going to teach you how to use it and manifest with it. So I'm super excited about that. You can register the link below that's scrolling below, visualize21.com. Visualize21.com. It is free. I know you will love it, and I would love to have you. So please go ahead over there and check that out. The next thing is just the usual prescription. Make sure you call at least one person and tell them that you love them. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I'll be back on tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern. So I look forward to seeing you, and have a great night. Bye-bye.